Thanks for tuning in for another edition of the Vires and Numeris podcast, a Bryer.io. That's Bryer.io production. We can't do this show without our sponsors, so let's give them a special thanks and tell you a little bit about them. First off, Thunder Games. Thunder Games creates games that integrate Bitcoin and process payments via the Lightning Network. They have numerous different games and run their own node. If you wish to connect, their public key is available over at Thunder. That's THNDR.games/. And with their link to the Telegram and social media also over there. Thunder Games are making mobile games which enable players to win Bitcoin for free using the Lightning Network to send prizes. I really love to see this. I'm a proponent of the Lightning Network, and it's good to see people, integrating their work and, showing faith in the Lightning Network as Bitcoin continues to work on scaling. Check out Thunder Games. That's thundergames.com. The Bob Shop. The Bob Shop is the most diverse blockchain and cryptocurrency clothing store I've come across. I love it. It's the best on the web, in my opinion. They have it all. Privacy coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, like I mentioned, Mimblewimble projects, hoodies, hats, shoes, tees. Go over to the Bob Shop and get your cryptocurrency gear so you can go around in style and support your favorite cryptocurrency projects or protocol. That's the Bob Shop, that's Bob Crypto, BOB crypto.co, known as the Bob Shop. Vinxcoin. Vinxcoin is the world's first decentralized fine French wine and vineyard-backed security token offering STO where anyone can be a fine French wine and vineyard owner from the comfort of their home. Vinxcoin removes high-cost entry to the fine French wine and vineyard ownership markets. Check out Vinxcoin. That's VINXcoin.com. Trios. What is Trios? Trios is an economy and an ecosystem. Trios is a direct reference to the decentralized money that will power a new economy. In the future, the term Trios will become synonymous with cryptocurrency and virtual financial assets, VFAs. Their payment methods, their ecosystem, and their general use as both a utility and a store of value. Visit Trios over at trios.io. Charon Coins, you found the brick-and-mortar financial institution where you can safely trade dollars for Bitcoin, USD to BTC, over-the-counter OTC, and person-to-person, P2P. They facilitate transactions of all sizes, including high-volume transactions. Their headquarters is located in Milwaukee, serving the MKE areas of Lakefront, Eastside, River West, and all of Waukesha County. More than being just an OTC location, they are here to educate you about Bitcoin wallets, blockchain, cryptocurrency, security, and platforms. If you're in the Milwaukee area, you can use their Bitcoin ATM, and more locations are coming soon. Visit Charon Coins, that's CHARON coins.com. Bitcoin SOV. Bitcoin SOV is an emerging community-driven project that has a decentralized team the world over. It is a proof-of-work mineable ERC20 and has a deflationary design with token burns to ensure your value is stored over time. Check out their site at bsov.io. Lucio Paletti is a digital artist, and he did that Andy Warhol masterpiece. He has one of the largest, actually, crypto store that I've come across on the internet, and the majority of his work, I think all his work is Bitcoin related for the most part. Tons of variations on some of the coolest art over the years. As you see, Andy Warhol, he's got tons of Andy Warhol stuff. That just is the tip of the iceberg. Stickers, posters, he has it all. Keychains. Check out Lucio Paletti. That's LuChoPoLetti.com. And Flashcoin. Flashcoin is a reinvention of Litecoin built to scale for worldwide commerce and fast enough to handle everyday transactions. The flexible and easy to integrate core code allows exchanges and wallets to add Flash to their platforms within hours. With a settlement time of around 5 seconds and consensus within 2 minutes, anyone, anywhere can use Flash mobile wallet as easily as cash or credit card. Visit flashcoin.io. That's FLASH coin.io. And as always, remember, nothing on Bryer.io, written or spoken, is financial advice. You are the captain of your own financial ship, and you are your own sovereign you make your own sovereign financial decisions. as always, do your own research. This show is has a lot of my opinions and the opinions of our guest. Like I said, aren't financial advice. So always do your own research and invest in knowledge and your personal human capital. So please enjoy this episode of the Vires and Numeris podcast, and thank you for watching. Back again for another edition of the Vires and Numeris podcast. Today I have he hosts his own podcast, Peaceful Anarchism. He's an avid chess player, a pretty good chess player from what I understand, and teacher. Great pianist. I've listened to a lot of his stuff that he puts out on Facebook. And advocate for homeschooling and a contributing editor to Living in Modern Times, Mr. Danilo Cuellar. How do you say it?
Cuellar, no problem.
Cuellar.
No worries.
Yeah, I asked him how to say it right before we got on here, and I still butchered up. Sorry. Cuellar.
No,
thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate your time today, sir.
Yeah, no problem, Arl. It's great to be with you. Great to see you. It's been a while since we talked. There's a lot of craziness going on over here. It's a wonderful material for content creators right now. They're going crazy.
Absolutely.
It's I guess for the good and the bad.
Well, real quick, since we'd be remiss if we didn't just mention what's going on right now. It's the for posterity. It's the 18th of April, 2020. I always like to start with Bitcoin price 72.23. And the market's moving up a little bit today. Link, the other one that I'm really focused on right now, is at $3.70. But outside of that, we're in this COVID-19 world, the C word that we talked about before we got on here quickly. What's your take on that? And what do you think is like? You and I are both huge free market advocates. Is this our time to shine right now?
I told a friend of mine who is more of a freedom lover that lives close to me, and I said that if this whole ordeal does not produce a massive new influx of anarchists and volunteers, then it just demonstrates how powerful and how effective the government school propaganda is.
Absolutely.
Because this is such obvious and blatant state overreach, abuse of power. It's just massive trampling on civil rights, forcing people into their homes. And now just today, just yesterday, I heard my friend say that in New York, because I'm in New Jersey, so I'm very close to New York, Governor Mario Cuomo has said that they just passed a law where, mandating people to wear masks when you leave your house. And then also basically saying that he was talking about the vaccine and how that's the only way that we're going to defeat this. And so he basically said, if you want a population to test on, come to New York, come test it here first.
Wow. Yeah. I don't agree with much of what,
which is amazing.
What Cuomo is saying. I actually have a family member in NYC pinned up there, and I tried to get him out of there before this really hit, and but
right.
It didn't get out of there in time. So yeah, I was just curious what your take on that was before we get into your story. Let's start. I like to start in everybody's. I'm interested in you as much as what you're doing. Where did you grow up?
So I was born in Peru, but I was raised in Rockland County, New York, and I grew up there most of my life until I went to Long Island for my college. Studied acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, massage therapy, Eastern nutrition, and my mother's she's become more extreme, more outright socialist. Like when I was younger, she was more Democrat. She would describe herself. Now she describes herself as a socialist.
Is she still in Peru, or is she?
Oh no. My parents are in Rockland County, New York.
Okay.
And but yeah, it's kind of funny how I came from that background, and she's pretty political.
Yeah.
So and it's funny. I wonder, like, how did I ever become an anarchist or voluntarist living in that surrounding? Because not only her, but also her sisters and her brother and a bunch of family, a bunch of my cousins, they're just all like, Bernie lovers and,
oh, man.
Democrat, socialist type people, green, eco, environmental type people. So
Right.
yeah.
You really beat the odds. I mean, it's already you beat the odds once going to a public. I went to a public school. I feel like I really beat the odds. And then I mean, my parents weren't like real big into economics or anything. Like I think they have a good grasp of the free market, but they weren't like teaching me about the Austrian School of Economics and stuff like that. So yeah, you doubled up on beating the odds. It sounds like. So when did you get interested in economics and free markets and how the world basically works? Because that's kind of like what led me to, I got interested in like just how the world works, and that was my economic conversion at the same time. It kind of was an obvious, move to that direction. What about you?
So for me, I think what really catalyzed it was when we had our first child in 2010, and we started really researching peaceful parenting, because also before we even had a kid, I remember saying to my wife how we would see a school bus go, and we'd be like, huh, can you imagine our son's going to be on that school bus one day? So we weren't even thinking about homeschooling at that time. And then we started researching peaceful parenting, and also that was another thing that changed, because we initially didn't think much of like spanking. Like we didn't think it was that bad. We got spanked, so what's the big deal? They do something bad, you hit them a little bit. So, but then I really researched it, and I educated myself. And Stefan Molyneux, I learned a lot from him. He had a lot of great content. Read some books. We bought some books by I think John Holt and different people about raising kids, the continuum concept, and then being introduced to Stefan Molyneux's channel, he opened the door for free market economics, Austrian economics, and anarchism in general, voluntarism, and it was a great eye opener. And then from there, Larkin Rose, and then G. Edward Griffin, the creature from Jekyll Island. And then, there's this book that Jeff Berwick recommends a lot to people, which is The Market for Liberty. Have you heard about that book?
Who's the author of that one?
It's not a new book. It was written in the 70s by these two people. Their last name are Tannehill. I think Linda and Morris Tannehill.
I've never read that.
It's awesome. I very rarely read books twice, but I read that book twice.
The Market for Liberty.
The Market for Liberty, yeah. It's basically the type of book where it's contemplating what a stateless society would look like, and how would justice look like in a stateless society. How would, I don't know, zoning laws look like? How would different things? How would businesses operate? How would anything happen? Like the common questions that we get asked from most statists is like, without the state, how would you do X? Right? So this whole book is geared towards that, and it's fascinating, their take, and they go into extraordinary detail, and it's really, really eye-opening for me, that book. Definitely worth a second read. And and I mean, there's only like one mention of like the Cold War, but other than that, the material is timeless. Like it's just invaluable.
I'm definitely gonna read that now.
Yeah.
The one person that I've paid a lot of attention to in the Austrian school is Hans Hermann Hoppe. I know he's kind of a divisive guy in the libertarian. Some people don't like that he advocates borders right now because, as an anarchist, there's that debate on whether you should go completely borderless or not.
Right.
But I think he assumes the position that we're already in this, where the state exists, so we have to at least, within this paradigm, we have to, try to execute the best we can, I guess would say. And that's what he talks about. A lot of the alternatives, like, how we would have a private law society and stuff. It sounds like is that sort of the idea of this book?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it was really great, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, there's other books that went along similar lines. There's a small one called the Nonviolent Zone by this guy Muir Matson, and that was a really great book as well. Again, contemplating how a stateless society might work. I believe Bob Murphy also wrote a book. What was it called? Chaos Theory, something like that. I don't know, something.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, something like that about a stateless society. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. And I mean, I haven't gotten into a conversation about this stuff in a long time, except recently maybe like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I talked to my mother on the phone, and she was, we were making small talk. How are the kids? How's everything? How's the family? How's the wife and everything? Good. And then she's like, all right, I got to go, but real quick, can you give me 2 sentences? What do you think of this whole coronavirus thing?
She asked you, or you asked her?
No, she asked me. And then no, because I don't really like to engage in contentious topics with people who I know disagree with me like immensely. It's
right.
just I don't seek out conflict, if it's not necessary. I would prefer just to like offer my knowledge, and that's it. If you want to take it, you take it. Not. And that's why I have a podcast and YouTube channel, so that I can put my knowledge out there, and if you want to consume it, you can. But I don't like to go out there and try to convert people necessarily. I just live my life, and I homeschool my kids and teach them, how to be good, moral, compassionate, kind human beings. And that's it, and people, if they see your example and they want to emulate it, great, and they ask you questions. And then once they're asking you questions, then they become receptive, and they're less likely to push back. They're more likely to consider your perspective, right? So my mother, when she asked me that, she was not really likely to consider my perspective, because we engaged in a heated discussion. And so we went on a lot of topics. I think we even touched on, like, I even mentioned, like, we started talking about polycentric legal systems in ancient Ireland. Can you imagine? The first question was coronavirus, and we ended up talking about polycentric in ancient Ireland. So yeah, we went all over the place.
That's awesome. Yeah, I see a lot of your posts and your videos, and you're not the type of person that's real combative, which I like, because I went through that combative thing. Like, when I first figured this all, what I feel like is like it's cliche to say the awakening or whatever, but it's true.
Right.
Like, you have this like light bulb moment where you're like, wow, this is so, everything is a lie.
Right.
I've been completely schooled, we could talk about that word itself, to believe everything is, is wrong. Everything is wrong, basically. So, I agree with you. It's like really draining to try to change people's minds, and the best thing you can do is what you're doing, is just put out content and slowly, get into their consciousness maybe, and have, let them know that there are alternatives to what they believe. Would you consider yourself like a Rothbardian? Because that's where I would. Are you a Murray Rothbard guy?
I think so. Yeah, definitely. I align a lot with him. Have I read any books of his? Yeah, I have read books of his. I like his the Case for the 100% Gold Dollar, Government is Money. What else? Yeah, I think his bigger books I have not read, but yeah, I really enjoy his writing. His writing is very clear, crisp, concise, easy to understand. I think some writers are just unnecessarily obtuse and confusing.
Right.
And it's like good writing is something that is so difficult to do. And it's hard. How do you teach someone to write well? It's hard. Like, I remember when I first started writing in high school, like creative writing. Like, I thought that the more adjectives that you include in your writing, the better it is. So, like, if you look at my writing in high school, it's like so complex.
Right.
But then as I've grown older, I've begun to understand, no, it's not about that. It's really about how can you most effectively convey your concepts in a way so that the reader can understand you. You don't want to confuse the reader, right?
I totally agree with you. Yeah, that wasn't something I had on the list here. I was just curious what you thought about that. Yeah, his book, Man, Economy, State with Power and Market, is my favorite book, and the one that really sealed the deal for me on Austrian theory. That's why I was curious what your take on him was.
Yeah. No, I love him. He's awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like the way you broke that down, though. He is a great writer too. What are your thoughts on? You and I have spoken a little bit. I came on your podcast. I was lucky enough to go on there when my first book came out. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? I know you've obviously done a lot of reading and digested a lot of material on money and the history of money. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've interviewed a good amount of people who are cryptocurrency experts. I have some crypto. I mean, I accept crypto if people want to donate. I mean, I'm not really that active in the crypto sphere. I love, another thing that I got into early on, along with G. Edward Griffin, learning about the history of the Federal Reserve and the history of currency and the monopoly on currency that the Federal Reserve has, is Mike Maloney from Hidden Secrets of Money. His website is goldsilver.com. So he's a big precious metals guy. He actually owns a precious metals company, but he diverts a lot of his profits towards education. So he makes really high quality documentaries called The Hidden Secrets of Money. And I believe we might have talked about this the last time we talked, I think. And it's like half hour little mini documentaries, but excellent, high quality. I recommend them all the time to people, teaching people about basic, free market economics, about how how central banks work, what the Mandrake mechanism is, what's the difference between currency and money, precious metals, And in the beginning, Mike Maloney, when I first started following him, he wasn't really big into cryptocurrency, but he began to appreciate it because to me the way I look at it is it doesn't really matter. It's not like gold or silver per se. It's not like Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever coin. It's not those things per se. It's the idea of giving people the freedom to choose what they want to use, right? And that's the most important thing. So right now, for thousands of years, gold and precious metals has maintained value. People choose to use them now. Nation states have tried to control them and have tried to set price ceilings on them, and different price manipulations, and have hyperinflated in their own way. But the fact remains that it has always maintained value throughout millennia, right? And that's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's there's like the big ball and chain around the ankle of the state, to restrict reckless, profligate spending and war and things like that. Things which, the printing of paper of currency, or just in modern times, the inputting of digital digits allows for reckless spending and debt and war. You just can't do that when you're restrained by a sound, scarce money supply. So for that reason, nation states abhor any kind of free market money, which would be precious metals or crypto. So I definitely love crypto. It's awesome. It's like whatever free people choose to use, that's awesome. I support it. And my close friends near me, they're tired of hearing me advocate for precious metals because I do it a lot. I mean, and also another thing I love to do about precious metals is teach it to kids, because I bought a good amount of silver over the course of a few years, and so I have a lot of different types of silver, like different kinds of coins from different countries and different bars and different size bars, and pretty cool stuff. And then there's junk silver, old American currency, used to be 90% silver. And it's great. It's great show and tell for the kids. They love looking at it. It's real. I tell my kids, like, if you think that, like, a stack of $100 bills is worth something, or if you think drop it to the bottom of the ocean, right, and then come back in 20 years, what's
Right.
going to happen to it? And you do the same thing with a silver bar or a gold bar. It's indestructible.
That's a good way to put it too. It's very durable.
Very durable. It's like amazingly durable. And I tell people this, that I like to tell people different kinds of facts about it, like um, how much does it cost to print, um, transport, and store a $1 bill, right? And I say roughly about 6 cents, right? You got the ink, you have the paper, and you got to store it, right? Now, how much does it cost to print, transport, and store a $100 bill, right? Roughly 7 cents. Why the extra cent? Because you have extra zeros, so you need a little bit more ink, right? Right?
That's a good way to explain value right there.
Oh yeah.
It is. That's I like that. It's very basic, but it drives the point home, and a kid, even a child should be able to understand that.
Oh yeah. I mean, and then there's a great Ludwig Mises quote, which is I think it's like paper. What does it say? Government is the only entity that can take perfectly usable ink and paper and make it worthless by printing
Right. Yeah.
currency on it.
I think that was actually. I think that's Friedman. I think that was
Is it
Milton
Friedman?
Friedman. I think it was Milton Friedman. But yeah,
Okay.
I wanted to. Nonetheless, it's a great
Yeah.
quote. Yeah, that you could take all that stuff to mix it together and make it worthless. Yeah, that's a great quote.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. You actually just jumped my next question somewhat. Which is perfect leading into it. What is your how exactly you're unschooling your children, which you just want to give a quick definition of what that is, and then to follow up on that, you kind of already mentioned it, but what are you teaching your children about money and the state?
Excellent questions. Yeah. I don't get many normal people asking me about what are you teaching your kids about the state? Okay, so yeah, so homeschooling. A lot of what it's interestingly enough, right now that people are in lockdown and schools aren't able to be in session, everyone says, "Oh, now I'm homeschooling my kids. Homeschooling is so difficult." And then one of my the people I follow, Connor Boyack. You're familiar with him?
No, I'm not.
Connor Boyack. He's also a free market anarchist guy, and he wrote a bunch of children's books called The Tuttle Twins. Excellent books, excellent for teaching kids about non-aggression principle, about sound money, about central banking, about inflation, about one of them is about protectionism, one of them is about zoning, one of them is about the different the comparison of government schooling to homeschooling. So all these different topics, and it's all the other one. Another one's about spontaneous order and the division of labor, specializations. It's excellent book.
Wow.
Excellent to teach kids. It's like targets like 5 to 10 year old range. And so he posted this meme that says, "Isolation schooling is not homeschooling." And I thought that was excellent. That's perfect, because it seems like everybody thinks that they're homeschooling because they're forced to have their kids at home. No, definitely not.
Right,
Definitely
right.
not.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing to homeschool. It's like no, we have our whole routine. Nothing has changed for us right now. Nothing has changed except the fact that we can't go to classes that we used to go, the gymnastics and everything. But yeah, so homeschooling is very big different thing, and some people who don't understand it, they think it's just like the same thing as government school. You just do it at home. You just have them do specific books and you break it up into 45-minute segments, and you just do no, definitely not. There's very little structure. Right. That's why I prefer the term unschooling, which is or another way to say it is like home education or life-led learning or passion-led learning. It's basically, we do some foundational things, reading, writing, math, that kind of thing. But that's by far the small amount of stuff that we do. We use a lot of online resources. There's a lot of great chess online resources for kids. There's programming websites we use. There's some great math websites we use. There's Khan Academy, which is a free website that teaches kids about all kinds of things, math and grammar and history and science and music, just so many things. It's just we're inundated with content. There's just no shortage of stuff, and it's great. And then in addition to that, they take their classes, fencing. My son does. My daughter does gymnastics, ballet, tap, modern dance. And then we also meet up with other families a lot. So this is the other misconception about homeschooling, is that we like home all the time. No way. We're very rarely home. I mean, my kids beg me to stay home more often. Yeah. So we're like out all the time, meeting up with other families, doing their classes. We're just on the road a lot. And yeah, so we meet up with other families some of them homeschool, some of them used to send their kids to private school. Of course, now it's all different now. But yeah, so we've been doing a co-op where we get together and we just work on stuff together, work on workbooks. We do grammar, we do writing together, and it's great to be with their friends. And because some people who are considering homeschooling, they're afraid because they're like, I don't know if I can do this by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the whole myth of it. You shouldn't be by yourself. You shouldn't have to do it by yourself. You have to be in a community. There's Facebook groups. You got to find other people in your surrounding area that are homeschoolers, and and because doing it by yourself is exhausting. You can't do it by yourself, definitely not. You have to outsource, right? This is the way that any business owner becomes successful is you have to delegate responsibilities. You have to outsource. You can't do everything yourself, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that what you're doing is, I think that's the way to go. I don't have any children yet, but if I do, I think, it does take I'm glad you hit on like delegating responsibility and, helping each other out in the community to achieve, the aim of a good education and stuff, because I think that's probably what holds a lot of people back. They're, worried that they can't, cut it, which a lot of people honestly probably can't. But with the help of a community, it definitely makes things a lot easier. Like, not, myself, and I'm sure you don't feel like you're the best at every single subject maybe or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but with that community support, it definitely would, makes everything a lot easier.
Yeah, and also I tell people that you don't have to be, a master iron chef to teach your kids how to cook.
Right.
You don't
Right.
have to be a NASCAR driver to teach your kids how to drive a car. So you don't
Yeah.
have to be the best at everything, right? You have basic skills that you have acquired through your life that you can teach your kids that are valuable.
And it's humorous to me that we're just assuming that these people that teach, not us, but other people have this sort of like it's this mythical thing around the state again. Like these people that
Right.
have no competition,
Right.
they get into these schools and there's zero competition for them to be the best teacher they can be once they get that job. That they have this, mythical, they are the teacher. They know everything or whatever.
Right.
They have this great grasp, and it's just that's really not the case, as you know. So. Yeah, I definitely like that. I see you guys do. You're teaching your children how to play chess. I know you're really good at chess. Is that one of the like extra activities you guys meet up with other families and get into that?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially for me, since I am a chess teacher, that is a big part of our homeschooling curriculum is chess. There's a couple of websites we use. I also have like printouts and workbooks, chess workbooks, and I just do. I have a lot of content, and yeah, it's great. And part of my homeschooling is if they play each other in games, which I encourage them to do. That's also part of their homeschooling. So yeah, oh yeah, I'm also a piano teacher, so I teach them piano as well, and that's part of the homeschooling. They practice their piano. So yeah, all that together. Yeah, we meet up with our friends in the co-op. Yeah, I also teach chess there to the other kids, and I bring all my sets and they play each other. So yeah, it's a great tool to enhance so many aspects. I had a parent ask me one of my classes. The parent asked me after the class. She's like, "What are the benefits of chess?" I was so like. I guess I was so shocked by the question. I was just like, I started laughing, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, No. It's just that like I'm like what is not a benefit of playing chess?
Right. Yeah. I was going to follow up with that actually. What do you view as like, I see it as, oh my gosh, the strategy of it,
Yeah.
I think it would probably teach a young child how to always be a move ahead and not to be a cliche. That's sort of a cliche thing to say, I guess, but is that really, I mean, that's really the idea, right? That, you're forward thinking, that you have this ability to like quickly interpret how to handle a situation maybe.
Right. So some things that playing chess could benefit a child is improve memory function, improve spatial recognition, spatial reasoning, improvement in ability to strategize, like you said, plan ahead, and also the acceptance of taking your decisions and accepting the consequences of your decisions, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
we all have to do in life, you and also to make sure to think about your decision before you make a decision because there are consequences. So basically, to avoid recklessness, don't be rash in your decision making. There are consequences to everything that we do, and you must, once you make your choice, you must own up to the consequences of your actions, right? Very important. So I think there's a lot of parallels that chess displays to life, and so yeah, so I love it, and I think it helps kids to just be critical thinkers about things, be creative. exercise your imagination. It's like, there's a there's a lot of great quotes that I chess quotes that I often refer to. One is this great chess player in the early 20th century. He says, "Chess, like love, like music, has the power to make men happy."
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
And I know a lot of the feminists will bite at me for that. I'm like, come on, it's just okay. You know what I mean? You didn't just mean men. You know what I mean?
This isn't a show for feminists, really. So,
right.
We're not here to exclude anyone, but we're not really a pro-feminism show.
Right.
So.
Definitely not.
Yeah. So, I wanted to ask you, who is your favorite all-time chess player? I am I know very little about chess. I know you and I were going to start playing some games online last time I talked to you, but it's hard to find the time, and I really do want to eventually do that and get in there and play some games against you, and you teach me how to play. But I actually enjoy watching shows about great chess grandmasters. And I watched the one about the guy who's the best in the world right now, the younger guy.
Magnus Carlsen.
Right. I watched the one on him, and then I have like this Bobby Fischer. He was such a character. I love watching stuff about him. Yeah. He's just an unreal guy to just like look back and study, and all the Cold War, the the history around him. Who are your favorite? If you want to just name one or two, and then just go ahead with that first, I guess.
Oh man, there's so many great chess players. I mean, if you want to talk about media, there's some really great films about chess. One of them is Pawn Sacrifice. Came out in 2014. Tobey Maguire, and it's all about the rise of Bobby Fischer from as a child in Brooklyn, this poor Jewish kid in Brooklyn, and his rise to eventually the world championship and defeating Boris Spassky in 1972. And it was such a momentous occasion because up until then, you could imagine in the height of the Cold War, right? So all this tension going on in the world, and the Soviet Union is, exerting its influence and power and trying to assert its dominance. And so on the chess scene, the Soviets were dominating like year after year. It was a Soviet world champion year after year after year
for like a century, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, I don't know if I said a couple of decades, a bunch of decades. The majority of the 20th century was like Soviet world champions, and then this poor Jewish kid from Brooklyn. He's like an idiot savant, Bobby Fischer. Like right. Some people was like he couldn't even tie his shoes, but he could play world class chess.
That's how they describe him,
Yeah. But he's a character. He's really interesting. And he goes up there and he just defeats Boris Spassky, and he just takes the world by storm. And that's when really that's what catapulted chess to becoming so much more popular in the world, especially in the United States. And it really boosted a lot of interest in the game. So Bobby Fischer, he's a very eccentric guy, very interesting guy, and so that's a great movie. Pawn Sacrifice, all about that. And then there's another movie called Searching for Bobby Fischer. Mm-hmm. Came out, I think, in the late 90s, and it's about this other guy, Josh Waitzkin, but he talks about Bobby Fischer a lot, and it's just excellent movie. Excellent. I highly recommend both of those movies. Bobby Fischer was pretty awesome. There was, I don't know, there's so many. There's this guy, I don't know if you know Jose Raul Capablanca. Cuban, yeah. Okay, you know him, Cuban chess player from in the early 20th century. And he was considered like a mathematical machine, like chess machine. And there was a point where, like, in the span of 10 years, he didn't lose one game. Like, the guy was like amazing, and so it's beautiful to watch. Like, go over his game. Yeah, like when I studied chess, I've studied games of like all of the famous chess players, all of the world champions. They all have their styles, and it's just fascinating to study it. And there's this one guy, Tigran Petrosian, who was world champion for a few years, I think a little bit before Fischer became champion. And his style, I think his style is more reflective in my style. I think I really enjoy his style. And actually, that's another thing with chess, is that by watching how a person plays chess, you can kind of gauge pretty accurately their personality, which is very
Wow,
interesting.
I had never thought of that, but I could definitely see that being true. Like if they're, more of a risk taker, or
Right,
they
right,
sit back and let the game come to them, right?
right. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So you definitely have, like, there's one world champion, Mikhail Tal, who he's wild, crazy, brilliant sacrifices. Rook queen sacrifice, and one of his famous quotes is, "I like to lead my opponent into a dark forest where 2 + 2 = 5, and there's only room for one to exit the forest."
Wow.
so he's one of those guys where, like, he's definitely not a position. He's wild. He goes towards the most unpredictable, tactical, sharp positions, and so he loves sacrifices. Tigran Petrosian is this polar opposite, which I think I'm more like him, which is like he's very strong positional player, and he very rarely makes a sacrifice, and he just, like, it's kind of like I don't know if somebody described him, or this is how I describe him, as like a boa constrictor, in that the way a boa constrictor kills its prey is not by outright brute force necessarily. It is constricting, but it's waiting for the prey to take an inhale, and once you inhale, it tightens a little more. Then you inhale again, tighten a little bit
Right.
more. So basically, you're just responding to your opponent's weaknesses, and you're just closing in slowly. So in that way, I think that's my style
So
of
is that
chess,
more
which is
more or less letting the game come to you?
I mean, I'm not passive. What I'm doing is, the way I play anyway, is that I'm very careful in my moves, but then I'm also looking for weaknesses in my opponent, and slowly, slowly, like, chiseling away at their wounds. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. You look at the weaknesses, and you slowly pile on pressure, and eventually your opponent cracks. So so
Right, right.
I think that's kind of my style, is boa
I had
constrictor.
I had to, yeah, I like that. I had to look it up. Capablanca had a great. I actually just learned about him in the last few months. I was doing a little research on chess, and
Cool.
one of his quotes came up, and you probably know it. It's to improve at chess. You should, in the first instance, study the end game, and I think that's
Yeah.
really a cool quote.
Yeah.
I think he was like the middle to late 1800s, right? Am I right on that?
I think early 20th century. That's when
Okay.
he became prominent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Off a little bit. Yeah, but I
But
thought that was a really good quote
oh,
of his.
he's amazing. That
And he
guy.
was the best for a long time, right? Quite a while.
Yeah. 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 He was an amazing. I mean, there's so many. Like Alexander Alekin was an awesome guy. I think he's a Russian guy, and yeah. I mean, so many. I mean, he. Like a lot of these grandmasters, they do these simultaneous exhibitions. You've heard about this, where a master would play multiple people at the
Right.
same time.
Hmm.
So this guy, Alexander Alekin, he went one step further. He did blindfold simultaneous exhibition. Can you imagine? Blindfold simultaneous. So you're playing 30 different people blindfolded, all those pieces, all those games in your head, and you're remembering each of those positions.
Oh, the majority of people couldn't. Yeah, the majority of people couldn't keep track of one board, let alone 30.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing.
It's just amazing. Yeah. So yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, the chess has fascinated me since I was 12. I read a lot of chess books and saw all these chess movies, and just got really interested in yeah. So now I'm teaching it to kids, and they enjoy it, and I love teaching it, and the kids are having a great time. Now that this whole crazy virus stuff is going on, I'm able to do it online, and I'm actually being even busier than I was before, which is pretty cool.
That's absolutely awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you let's this is like a good segue into my next question. Do you see like a future where I feel like you and people of our mindset, you and I have a lot of the same, similar beliefs. Are we going to raise the, future generations, people like us that could strive or maybe accomplish an area or territory that is absent of rulers, where we can avoid the state completely? Or what is your take on, like, what do we need to aim for?
Yeah. Um, you know, I think it's so important that we show people that anarchy is around us at all times. And the state is really the force that's trying to upset that harmony. And I try, and I was having this conversation recently with a friend that I think everybody is an anarchist. They just don't know it because most people live their lives anarchically, right?
Right.
They wear what they want to wear. They listen to the kind of music they want to listen to. They go to the job. They choose their job. They choose what time they want to wake up, go to sleep, what food they want to eat. You want to work out or not. You choose. We make choices all the time without people telling us what to do. People make choices, and also, I think for the most part, most people live moral lives. They understand basic morality. But for some reason, some strange reason, they think that this giant exception called the state is exempt from that same um, code of morality that all of us are subjected to. So I don't really think that we need to start our own, enclave of anarchists or volunteers. I mean, I think that just us living in the general population, interacting with people, and showing them that, yeah, you can be a prosperous and thriving, successful person and not support the state. It's possible. The state
Yeah.
doesn't help us, and all it does is hinder people. The state doesn't produce anything, doesn't create anything useful, valuable, productive. No, because if force must be used to create it, then it is fundamentally worthless, right? Because if people want it and if it's valuable and it's needed, it will be created and it will make people's lives happier, right? How many people's lives are happier at the point of a gun?
Right.
you know?
Zero.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Rothbard actually, has a quote about that. It's, that we are just people, to paraphrase what he said, and you just hit it on taxation and conscription and all that stuff. That we are basically people that don't make we don't waver in the universal ethic of just doing the right thing.
Right. Right.
And that's really what we're taught and trained from such an early age to just give up, and this is any sort of idea that the state could maybe be doing us harm or anything like that. It's I pledge allegiance. I mean, that's like the first thing you learn in school, right? You stand up, you fall in line, you do this. It's just like it really is such an archaic idea now. I think more and more people are figuring it out. But I wonder where we're going to go, because there's so many. I feel like there's so many more of us now than ever. Or maybe just because we're living in this digital age, we're allowed to find each other. You know what I mean? It's made it easier. So
Right.
I think Lieberland. I'm not real familiar with Lieberland, but I know I think that's somewhat of an idea. A lot of people like us decided to move there. Do you know much about Lieberland, or would you move to a place? I'll pose that question. Would you uproot if you had the opportunity to live around other like-minded people like that?
Um, yeah, I've heard of Lieberland. And there's the Free State Project in New Hampshire, and Jeff Berg's got his thing in Acapulco. A bunch of anarchists moved down there because they got Acapulco, and then they just stay. They love it so much they just stay. So that's kind of like becoming another gathering of volunteers. I mean, that would be awesome if I was to live near a lot of bunch of anarchist volunteers. I would love that. That would be great. It's so what, it's so strange. I'm sure you've been to like freedom conferences, where you're just surrounded by anarchists and volunteers. It's so weird. I find it because it's like these conversations that you can't have with other people because
Yeah.
they don't think taxation is theft. They don't think that the state is immoral. So you can't have a conversation with that as the foundation. You have to first describe that stuff. So when you're around other anarchists or volunteers, it's like, wow, we can go deeper into this. I don't have to, it's such a weird concept.
Yeah, I went to Anarchadelphia last year, and I know exactly what you're saying, and I was like, it was kind of funny. I was sitting at this restaurant before. I haven't told anyone this story. I was sitting at this restaurant the night before the event, just eating dinner by myself, drinking a Arnold Palmer, And this woman sat down next to me, and then she was meeting a friend, and I started talking to him. She's like, "What are you here for?" I'm like, "Anarchadelphia. It's this meeting of all these." She said, "What is Anarchadelphia?" I told her, it's like a branch of Anarchapulco, an event where a lot of anarcho-capitalist and free market people meet. Yeah. And she starts talking to me, and then she tells me, like, after that, I got to talk to them, and her friend showed up, and they actually bought my dinner. They were really nice. In Philadelphia gets a bad rap. Yeah. And I start talking to them, and then she tells me at the end, they asked me to go have a drink with them somewhere, and she's like, "Yeah, and by the way, I'm in the FBI," or something like that.
Whoa!
Yeah, so I was like working on converting this. I think it was some branch. It was like FBI, CIA, or something real crazy. I think she was in the FBI. Wow. And at least that's what she told me. And I asked her what she did, and she didn't. But yeah, it was like I had this normal conversation with these people, one of these events. And then the next day I'm sitting around all, like-minded people and thinking like, wow, I wonder if any of these people are like a plant here.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but I thought that was kind of humorous.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful situation. Like we've been living in New Jersey for a while, New York and New Jersey area. So I have a lot of friends here, a lot of contacts and connections, and business opportunities here. So it would be difficult and different to uproot. A lot of people are talking. A lot of my friends are talking about it. Especially with what's going on here, the quarantine, the lockdown, and all that. But yeah, it would be a beautiful thing, definitely. It's like nothing can come close to living near other like-minded volunteers, and also I'm sure like the safety, just knowing that everyone around you has a similar idea about self-defense, about non-aggression. It's just like people who are afraid of guns. I like to point out that where you never have a mass shooting is a gun show.
Yeah, it's true.
Or gun stores, just
more guns, less crime.
Right. So yeah, I live right now where we live on a mountain in New Jersey, northern New Jersey, and when we first moved here 3 years ago, I noticed that one of the guys who lives like across the street from me, he had a Gadsden flag sign, which is a good sign, right? It's like the limited government type people. And then he got I saw a white flag in front of his house that said, "Give me liberty or give me death." And then I thought, oh man, I feel really at home here now. These people, it's like the further you get away from a large concentration of people, like a metropolis or a city, the more libertarian minded you get.
It's so true. Yeah, I don't have like any neighbors that I know that like fly the Gadsden flag or anything like that, but you just feel just talking to people, I know that they're more liberty minded. It's like I totally agree with what you just said. I've been thinking about that a lot myself because I moved out of the city 3 years ago. I was in Cincinnati, and before that Columbus, Ohio, and it's just there's something about the way the higher the degree of education, a lot of times the more people want to move into that. They want to be stuck in that fishbowl of like communists, to be quite frank. It's more like a parasitic thing where they don't have a lot of free thoughts, in my opinion.
Yeah. And another beautiful thing where we live is the neighbors are wonderful. They're great. I talk to them, and they ask how we're doing, and I borrow things from them, and it's just so much more where people are looking after each other, right, and taking care of each other, and it's just such a beautiful thing. It's just like so many people that I know, they live in a place, let's say in the suburbs, where there's more concentration than where we live, and they're like, I never talk to my neighbors.
Yeah, they're the ones that like come home, they immediately lock all doors, check underneath their bed and all that. Yeah.
Oh man, and then you got into cities, like even more concentration. They're like, you don't talk to anybody. It's so weird. The more people around you, the more people lock up and clam up and don't interact, and it's kind of weird.
It is strange. I could talk to you forever. I'm gonna have to have you back on if you want to come back on again.
Sure, no problem.
I appreciate your time today. I have one last question for you. Well, since this is this is a Bitcoin related show, but I'm also an anarcho-capitalist, and I want to have people like you on that are into peaceful parenting and you have like you're very diverse. So I appreciate you coming on. But I wanted to ask, this is like a double barrel question. I always ask, what does Bitcoin mean to my guests that are very Bitcoin centric, and then what does Bitcoin mean to you, and what does voluntarism or anarcho-capitalism mean to you?
So what does Bitcoin mean? Bitcoin for me signifies freedom, the freedom to interact in whatever currency the market deems, or free and peaceful people deem to be effective and useful. Like what I was describing Gresham's law to my family member, because I was showing her my silver stash, and was explaining different things about money and currency and everything. And I said, there's this idea of Gresham's law, right? Whereas when the state takes control of a money supply, then and as it begins to inflate and the value decreases, then people remove the more valuable currency, like the old junk silver. They remove them from circulation, and that is Gresham's law at work, right? Bad money drives out good money, right? And so so when you have a free market in currency, or a free market in money, you have the reverse Gresham's law, right? Whereas why would people use poor quality currency when they're free to use the best?
Absolutely.
Right? So when you're free, you always use the most valuable. And I think that's very illustrative that of this tendency of it's just it's like a natural law, Yeah,
it is, that Bitcoin's going to eat. I believe that. I truly believe that. I like the way you put that too, that Bitcoin is going to eat up all of the fiat junk money.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, I feel dirty just holding on, having my wealth in currency. I'm like, it's like a hot potato. I want to get rid of it. I want to put it into something real, like precious metals, like silver. My wife is like, she's like, you bought enough silver already. I'm like, that's a contradiction. Enough silver? What is that? I don't understand that.
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah. So and then what was the other question?
What about voluntarism and anarcho-capitalism?
Yeah, what does that mean to me? I mean, I think it's self-evident in the way people live their lives. Like I said, most people are anarchists and don't know it. Like same thing, most people are voluntarists and don't know it. Like most people don't use violence to solve their problems. Are you familiar with Cal Molineux from Liberate RVA?
No.
He's in Richmond, Virginia, anarcho-capitalist in Richmond, and he makes great YouTube videos. And so he does a lot of man in the street videos, and he does, his whole question line is, first he says, do you use violence to solve your problems in your daily life? No. Would you advocate other people to use violence to solve your problems in your daily life? No. So why do you think it's okay if we delegate that ability to the state in the form of elections and voting? Why does that make it okay? Why does it turn morality on its head? And it's a great line of questioning. And so you begin to see that everybody already understands this stuff. Don't take other people's things. Very simple. Even the child understands that.
Right.
But the idea is that all of this government school indoctrination propaganda has led people to believe that the state is an entity that people cannot live without.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I also remember, like, when I was young, another one of the things they first teach you in elementary school is the mob rule. Like, we're going to put this up to a vote, and everybody raise your hand that wants to do this, or right. And it's like, they really instill this, like, your rights are at the whim of the democratic mob. That's like one of the first things they teach you in school. So it's interesting.
So real quick before we end, you just reminded me of a great YouTube video. I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's called the Democracy Diner. Have you heard of this video?
No, I have to check that out.
You got to put it in the description. All right, so it's like an animated video, and it's a what if we applied democracy to a diner, to a restaurant? So these two guys go into a restaurant and they sit down, and the one guy's like, "You're gonna love this place. I love it. This is a great place." And so looks at the menu is like a lot of things, right? Like I don't know, grilled chicken, pizza, and nuggets and everything, whatever. A lot of different things. And he's like, and waitress comes over. She's like, and he's like, all right, can I have the grilled chicken? No, we're out. Can I have the pizza? No, we're out. Can I have the hamburger? No, we're out. Okay, what do you have? And so it ends up that there's only two options, and then they're gonna, and then over the last week, they say, okay, we're gonna take a vote, and the guy's like, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, that's what they do. So you put in what you want, and then everyone takes a vote, and then whichever wins, that's what everyone has. It's so awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like that.
And that's exactly what it's like. It's like,
it really is.
Why is it that, our liberties and our freedoms are put to a vote for the majority? Number one, does the majority ever make wise or prudent decisions? No.
The majority is always in the wrong. And if you applied that, you've really expressed it well. If you apply that method to anything in your life, cell phones, computers, nobody would want that to be left up to the Democratic vote. It's like, so why are we putting it, putting our lives in the hands of these people? I really appreciate your talk, man. You have a lot of good insights. I'm definitely going to have you back on. Danilo Cuellar. Did I
excellent. Yep, you got it.
Did I say it right that time?
Awesome.
Yeah. We've been friends for a long time, but I didn't know how to pronounce your last name.
That's all right.
Where can people look, what if somebody wants to hire you to teach them how to play chess or piano? Where can they go?
So you can message me on Facebook. You can also email me. My email, Danilo Kipu, Kipu, Danilo Kipu @yahoo.com. I do private lessons. I do group classes. Usually like 10 kids is the max class I do. But yeah, I have a bunch of classes going on right now, and being more busy, and I love it. And the kids, I got a lot of great feedback. I got pictures and videos on my YouTube channel. I got a Facebook page called Danilovich Chess on YouTube, and you can see a bunch of videos there and pictures of my classes. And I also have a YouTube channel, same name, Danilovich Chess, Danilo Vich, Danilovich Chess.
Is that a tip of the hat to the Russians, the Russian chess great?
Yeah. Okay. So the origin of that is my wife, when I met her, my wife is Romanian Hungarian, and so when I met her parents, the stepfather was also Romanian, and so he would actually call me Danilovsky. So he was just playing around with my name. So okay. I think he also mentioned Danilovich too. So I like that.
It works.
I mean, and also like you said, the Russians, Russia is very big association with chess. So yeah, it just works, I think.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. All right, man. And then your YouTube channel is youtube.com / @peaceful or just / peaceful anarchism, right?
Well, actually, I don't think the URL. I made a mistake with that. I didn't do the URL with my name, okay. So it's just like a bunch of random letters. So just just look for peaceful anarchism. You should find me.
Yeah, you have 1.93K subs on there and like 364 videos or something like that.
Oh yeah, a bunch. Yeah. I've done interviews, like, I don't know, over 150 interviews, something like that, a lot. And a bunch of like short videos as well, on various topics. So yeah, my website, peacefulanarchism.com, Peaceful Anarchism YouTube channel, and I'm also on Stitcher and iTunes. You're not on Stitcher and iTunes yet, right?
No, I think the podcast is on iTunes, but it's not on Stitcher. I haven't been on Stitcher yet. No.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, I definitely recommend it. I love Stitcher. I mean, yeah, it's just great to get on all these podcatcher apps and websites because it just expands your reach.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, brother. I'm gonna say goodbye to you in one moment here.
All right. Thanks a lot for having me as well.
Absolutely.